Immerse in the profound wisdom of the Shandilya Bhakti Sutras, ancient verses, revered as a pinnacle of devotion and spiritual awareness. Under the guidance of His Holiness Swami Jyotirmayananda, plunge into the infinite ocean of this revered scripture. Discover its hidden truths. Embrace its transformative power. Awaken to new realms of divine love and spiritual awareness. The depths are calling. The deeper you dive, the more treasures you'll discover. And now, Sri Swami Jyotirmayananda.
Vasudeva Sutam Devam Kansachanuramardanam Devki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum. Om. Adorations to Lord Krishna, the preceptor of the universe, destroyer of the forces of darkness, and bestower of immortality. And adorations to the Blessed Self in all. Shandilya Bhakti Sutras, Sutra number 70, Sage Shandilya gives insight into different ways devotion is developed in the heart of a devotee. There are different methods. They are called secondary devotion. And secondary devotion, the technical term is Gauni Bhakti. And devotion, the ideal devotion is Para-bhakti, supreme devotion. These 3 points will be highlighted soon. Patrāder, dānamanyathā, vaishishtyam. That's all the sutra. Offering of leaf, etc. It refers to all general offerings. Otherwise, there will be the defect of narrow-mindedness. Lord Krishna says in the Gita, Patram pushpam phalam toyam yo me bhaktya prayachati tedaham bhakti upahritam ashnami prayatatmanah. Whoever offers even a leaf or a flower or a fruit or just water with devotion to me, I accept that offering of love from the pure-hearted devotee. There are many implications. At the level of the masses, the general idea, richer you are, greater will be your performance, spiritual performance. You can invite more people, give more charity. You can tweet and Twitter and create a lot of devotees. Now, what will happen to a person who is not so rich? Can God be bribed by money? Absolutely not. Therefore, the statement is, you can forget about rich people doing big things. Just pluck a little leaf or offer a little flower. And if your trees have brought out some fruit, bring some fruit also. Or just water. If you have offered with profound feeling, because it's the feeling internally that matters. In one of the spiritual episodes, this is brought out into an interesting story. King Yudhishthira performed Rajasuya Yajna. It's a very magnanimous performance. Thousands and thousands of people were fed and a lot of charity was done. And as a result of all the performance, Krishna had a magical garland, a garland of bells. if anyone did extraordinary act of virtue, the bell will ring. When all that was done, one bell rang. Not ordinary ringing, it just rang and vibrated, resonated with the heart of people. They were all glad that this Rajasuya Yajna was a great success. A little later, Arjuna went on walking with Krishna. And while he was walking by a lake, they were just relaxing. Suddenly all the bells of his garland began to ring, not just one. And Arjuna said, "O Lord, who has done such a wondrous deed?" Because I was in my mind that nobody has ever performed a deed like King Yudhishthira. And nobody can ever perform. He was unique. And then, during that time, only one bell rang, which meant only 1%. And Krishna said, yes, then a very great devotee who has offered something that transcends all imagination. Out of the food that has been thrown away from the feast, there comes a very highly cosmic conscious sage, just feels hungry and he just goes, picks up what has been thrown out from all the feast. And before eating, says, Om Shri Krishnaya Namah. I'm offering this to the Lord. And goes on munching it, eating it. And all the time his whole is immersed. God is enjoying. His enjoyment is not at his ego level. And during that time, all the bells of Krishna began to ring. So the idea is to understand how to develop that bhavana, that profound feeling. And that is not quantitative, it is qualitative. Therefore, there are many stories in Hindu scriptures. Rama, who is God incarnate, great sages always surrounded him, but he remained little aloof. But when he was passing by through the forest, I'm not giving you the whole story, just he and his brother, they encounter Shabari. Shabari was a lady devotee who has been practicing spiritual devotion, sadhana. Her guru had told her that one day Lord will come in your way. He will cross your path. And the idea God will come had become so deeply rooted in her. And another idea that his coming is the highest attainment. Nothing in the world is like it. Therefore, every day she prepared how to make the path smooth and to offer fruits. She went out into the forest, looked for special fruits that were bare fruits, very sweet. But she couldn't trust her looks. She took the fruit, bit it, put a tooth mark. And when it tasted sweet to her, she put it in the basket, well planned to offer it to God. There were other disciples of the ashram. They always considered her just dull wit, spaced out. Now and then they came to her and said, years have passed, nobody has come this way. Stop it. If he is coming, we'll tell you. Then you start doing the same thing. Why you go on doing day by day? She wouldn't listen because she doesn't want to miss. Day by day she goes on to me. And one day it does happen. Rama, Lakshmana, they come that way. And she had already her basket ready, fruits. She offers Rama. And Rama, after Rama had relaxed and her feet have been washed with the tears of her joy, that she gives that fruit. And Rama eats it and says, it reminds me of my mother. She enjoys it. Lakshmana was little suspicious when he saw the tooth mark. Wanted to tell Rama not to take that. But Lakshmana had developed such profound love for Rama, his brother. He wouldn't contradict him no matter what he does. So poets have sung that here is God. Great personalities offer so many wonderful things, but he ignores them. Sages, yogis practice a lot of austerity to get him. And he just shows one little tip of his finger or something. He doesn't go there. But here, Shabari offers something she had already tasted. And God accepts it with such joy. Another illustration is when Krishna goes as a messenger of peace in Mahabharata into the royal assembly of the Kauravas. Duryodhana, who is a demoniac type of person, he invites Krishna to a wonderful palace. And he had prepared the best of things you can ever imagine. Again, his idea is somehow God can be bought. That's the idea behind the human mind. And Krishna goes there and he doesn't accept anything. He simply says to them with humility that unless the purpose for which I have come is fulfilled, I will not take that because I'm not hungry. And also, your food will not taste good to me because you are not very sincere. And then he goes to Vidura, a saintly person who didn't have much to offer. Duryodhan ke meva tyago, sag vidur ghar khai. Duryodhan presented most delicious foods. He abandoned. And in Vidura's place, just some sag, which is vegetables like spinach. You may say probably you are more diet conscious. But that's just a humor. So now, come to another level. Tree of devotion, offering to God, is like a tree. First stage, when the tree begins to grow, you see the leaf coming out. Then you have little more growing of the tree. Then you see a bud, flower comes. And then flower turns into fruit. And then, after fruit, you extract juice with the essence of all. If you are advancing on the spiritual path, you come to leaf state. Your mind turns to seva bhav. May I serve God, God who abides in all. Good qualities begin to develop in you. Your actions become generous. All this doesn't happen immediately, but it's progressive. So which means you see a little leaf has developed from a dry tree. Now more leaves and more is flourishing day by day. Then you come to the state of flower. The state of flower means mind is becoming highly purified, and the fragrance of the self begins to emanate through your mind. You go further in the development, fruit. Fruit implies that you have developed supreme devotion. For you, the only object of love is God. And God is this target of love, the object of love, and you are the only beloved for the God. Between you and God, there is absolute unity. To love and to be loved, these two instincts in every individual, they haunt every individual from life to life. It's not a story. In every life, just put together only 3 lives of the past and try to imagine. How did you look? Where was your personality? Who were your parents? How were you related? Where are those near and dear ones? You loved them so intensely. You spoke of wonderful things in the wintry season by the fireside. Should I say more? You never have imagined to be separated from them. But somehow in your soul level, that was not satisfied. That was not enough. So you kicked the bucket. We entered into another embodiment. This has gone on. This is an experiment. The soul is in a dull-wit experiment. Experiment from one life to another to another. That experiment comes to a successful conclusion when you develop devotion through satsanga, good association, and your mind opens up with faith, proper insight, and that ideal presents itself before your mind. What should I be? What should I accomplish? Let me give you some points. The Bhakti literature talks about premankur, sprouts of love. How will you know the tree of love is growing? By looking at the sprouts. But what are the sprouts? Kshanti, first sprout. Kshanti is forbearance, patience. In every situation, do not suddenly jump up and lose your balance. Always have in your mind understanding that God is ruling this world. You are only an instrument. So therefore, things don't have to happen exactly the ego expects. If things happen exactly the way ego expects, then that's the way things will be. Millions of lives have gone on, and there will be more and more. You've never been clever enough to put the cycle of birth and death to an end. So therefore, that art has to be learned, how to be patient. Begin with physical level. When you become too agitated, annoyed, angry, irritated, one thing you should do, don't express it physically. Don't bang the doors. Don't break the teacups. That's one first level. If you can do it, a little ankur has developed, little sprout has come. But now there is a second challenge, the speech level. Sometimes people don't do much, but suddenly bitter words spring out of the tongue. Control that. On the contrary, say, let mind bring out something positive. And third level is even in your mind. You have turned away from negative things, physically, vocally. But why should you be so dull with to keep it in your mind? Look at a person who throws away all outward dirt, but the worst part of it puts it in the pocket. Why should you keep it at mental level? If you think of it, that's what it means now. The sprout of divine love is coming. All this is interesting, even at the sprout level. Next one, avyartha kalatva. You will never waste your time. If you have tasted the joy of divine love, even in the sprout level, you are constantly allowing your whole personality to move without allowing inertia, dullness to end. Kind of awakening, constant wakefulness. When you say it in an ordinary way, it will give you an idea of being stressed. You go to sleep, I want to be awake. To be awake constantly is to be with healthy mind, without stress. Therefore, the voice of reason is never lost. And the opportunity to learn is never lost. The opportunity to act up to a situation. There has come someone who wants your help. And your mind is, the mood is not correct. So you let the person go on. But when the person has gone on, now you begin to regret. That person was a great friend of mine. He came and I had all the things to help him. I didn't do it. I'm just dramatizing. If your mind is alert, you will not lose your opportunity. Catch opportunity by the forelock. Because she's bald behind. Every situation gives you some teaching. Even if you are with children, they are telling you something. Sometimes great insight can develop. So that avyartha kalatva, you will never waste your time. And of course, your mind goes on with japa, repetition of mantra, and thinking of God, smaran, Ishvara smaran. becomes more and more involved in satsanga. Next point is virati. Virati means you are not allowing yourself to be attached. Remember, I once told the simile of, if you are handling fruits like plantains in your kitchen, when you cut, much glue enters into your fingers. The simple method is oil your fingers and then cut. Find more gluey things and doesn't matter. So if your mind is glued up with love of God, the world will not stick to you. You can handle the world, you can utilize the world, you can really allow yourself to be enriched by the world. And your hands are clean. So therefore, that aspect called virati. You are not attached. Māna-shunyata, another. Man is pride. Pride not in a positive way. It's negative type of haughty, egotistic feeling, I am greater. I'm so great. And always, therefore, you expect others to recognize your greatness. You go to people with head up, and if they don't adore you, you walk on. If they adore you, you better. Then you will start showing your humility. A subtle point to understand that there is a saying, Trinadapi sunichena. You should never view yourself any better than a blade of grass. Not in a humiliated way. So the whole world is just the same. A wave is as good as a whole big wave. Because all this is the same ocean. Trinadapi sunichena. Therefore, be as humble as a blade of grass. Tarorapi shahishnuna. Be as enduring as a mighty tree. Amanina manadena. People who are hungry to be recognized. Give them recognition, encourage them. And in that, by doing so, feel internally enriched. When Krishna was asked in the great Yajna of Yudhishthira, what type of service will he do? He chose the service of washing the feet. That's the humblest service that one can imagine. So humility is a great attainment. Amanina manadena. Kirtaniya sada hari. And your heart has open window, and God's presence just floats into it constantly. Kalmana shunyata. You never expect from people that they should give you some praise. That doesn't need to be taken literally. If you have performed something, you can ask people, did I do well? Because even that answer comes from God around you, and allow yourself to be encouraged. That's perfectly okay. But internally, you should not develop an attitude that you have to please people and deprive yourself of any satisfaction. In other words, be internally empty and just go on pleasing people. That's not. In that setup, people develop this sense of pride. Pride becomes important. That's the basis of demoniac development. And then the only way to fulfill your pride is to see that others are subjugated by you. So if you have a whip in your hand, anybody will bend down for it. man shunyata. Another point you should understand, that even if you have a lot of appreciation, thousands and thousands of people appreciate you, all that doesn't mean much. Once Hitler had a lot of appreciation. It is what your inner experience is, an inner movement towards God, that the root of all your attainment. Next characteristic of growing love is asha bandh. Your expectations are fixed. For example, you have seen there is a treasure in a place, and there is no doubt about it. Now, you have invited people to dig it and all the other details. But behind all the details, this point is sure you are going to get it. Much in the same way, your mind has become focused, fixed. I'm going to get God. I'm going to get Parabhakti. Because I am a ray of God. And the more you recognize yourself as a ray, the more you recognize that God is unable to separate himself from it. So make him helpless. Instead of you being helpless. So if he's rushing to me, say, wait. Kabira man nirmal bhayo. Jaise Ganga neer. Kabira says, mind became pure like the Ganges water. And God is runs after me. Kahat Kabir. O Kabir, where are you going? Paache lage hari firai. From behind, God is coming. I say, oh, Kabir, don't run away from me. A dramatization that movement to God is not a great pressure on your part, but there is a tremendous eager expectation on the part of God. And that expectation from God is a million times greater than yours, because he has been waiting for you through countless years, through countless lives. So, that's the asha bandh. Your hope, expectation is fixed. Samutkantha. Therefore, there is inner joy simmering in your heart. Just like only comparison we can give when in a family, some dear one is getting married and everybody becomes so involved. They're working very hard. But look at their faces, they're all smiling. Here you may not be smiling, you may be crying. Life has many situations. But deep in your heart, there is that utkantha, there is a kind of joy that I'm crying for him. Am I enjoying for him? Adverse situations he has given me, well, let's see what he works out. He's going to teach me a lesson through this. And you have no doubt about it. So there is always utkantha, kind of to be perseverant with joyousness. Nāma-smaraṇa-ruci, another. Whenever you get the opportunity, you bring in your mind the divine name. Om, 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 Ram, Ram, Ram. And go beyond verbal aspect. Go and allow the feeling to flow along with the divine name. राम नाम मणि दीप धरु जीह देहरी द्वार तुलसी अंतर बाहरहु जो चाहसी उजियार. Simple statement. Bring the name of Rama at the threshold. The threshold, your personality is like a house that faces the whole world outside. But it is internally dark and externally dark. It's a miserable house. You don't see what's inside the house, you don't see what's outside. Simple solution. Put a little lamp at the threshold. That lamp is the name of God. And that threshold is your wonderful tongue. So you start saying Ram, 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 Ram. There is a stage when your mind will be involved with just reciting name verbally. Even that verbal recitation never goes to waste because it is gradually catching the flame. But once come to a stage, feeling joins with it, then that name has allowed something to enter your heart and with illumination, something that enters and illumines your inner life. You begin to see your inner life in the light of spiritual insight, in the light of how God is sustaining you. And as you begin to discover spiritual dimensions within yourself, the world also is not the same. You look at people, you see souls strive. Instead of judging them in a cruel way, you develop compassion. I was also in that situation. And if I see someone struggling, instead of laughing at the person, I would rather, as I would have expected in this situation, I will do the same. So your whole attitude changes. And the world becomes a friendly world. The world in itself is never as ugly as it becomes when it comes through the TV. The world is a whole divine plan unfolding. Look at it as the miracle of divine grace bursting through all personalities. So Nāma-smaraṇa-ruci, you go on developing practice of japa in a very profound level. So much so it goes away from your tongue, but in your heart, with constant awareness of divine presence. So these are the characteristics as the tree of devotion grows. Sukrita jatvat parehetu bhavatcha kriyasu shreyasa. These secondary acts of devotion are superior to other acts. Day to day, various acts you do. But when you turn to God in a secondary way, I will explain. So they are helpful for attaining para-bhakti, supreme devotion, and they originate from past virtuous actions. This is related to the next sutra, Gaunam Traividyamitarena Stutyarthatvat Sahacharyam. Secondary devotion is of three types. Artha, Artharthi, Jnāsu. They are mentioned together with Jnana or para-bhakti to glorify supreme devotion. Now, coming to a very simple way to understand. Three ways a human being turns to God. There are times when things can't be handled by you. You suddenly realize that nobody can help. At that time, your heart, with great distress, turns to God. If you have a backing of good karma behind it, you will have a kind of a miraculous result. And there are countless people who can vouch for it. But now, having tided over your adversity, you have two choices. You should learn the lesson of turning the mind to God even when there is no adversity. Then you are a great student. You are wise. Or be a dullwit. Ignore everything until another adversity comes. First type is secondary devotion. If you have developed the second type, that constantly I must move on, then it is called primary devotion. The same as form of devotion, like turning to God in distress, can be of a minor type. In other words, you develop it, but it is not generating in you supreme devotion. Or you can allow it to become a part of a profound movement. All secondary devotions are supplementary, rather they are moving towards the profound. And they are a result of good karmas done by you in many lives. And I will explain this next time. Om Shanti Shanti.
Thank you for joining us on this journey of spiritual growth. It's an honor to learn from the wisdom of Swami Jyotirmayananda. As we part for now, remember, the quest does not end. Take time to reflect on today's insights and integrate them into your life. Until next time, stay open, stay curious, stay present. The light within you is always shining.